Hi, everyone. This is Nikki from Intergroup. Just want to welcome you to the Disruptive Innovation webinar on IAA trends. Just some things before we get started, and I'll introduce Montserrat here. If you're not speaking, if you can just go ahead and mute yourself during the presentation would help just to remove some background noise, would be really helpful. But of course, if you have questions during it, feel free to unmute and ask away. So our speaker today is Montserrat, our fearless CEO. So just a little bit about us, Intergroup. We're a service firm. We enable companies to grow through innovation. At the end of the presentation, there'll be a little bit more about us, so you can learn more what we do. But just to turn it over to Montserrat here, she's done several webinars for us before. If you're curious to take a look at the past ones, we have a Vimeo account for Intergroup, and I encourage you to take a look. Take a watch, because there's lots of interesting things happening and lots of different events we've been attending, especially in the last year. And there's some good, interesting information there that I'd recommend you to check out. So at this point, I'll just turn it over to you, Montserrat. Go ahead.
All right. So thanks very much for the introduction. As a fearless CEO, indeed, if we want to look at innovation and on ways of applying those, it's required to be out of the comfort zone. And sometimes you lose your voice when you travel so much and spend so much time on planes. So I apologize for the quality of my voice. And let's start. What we want to give you is an outlook on mobility. Of course, presentation, our participation to the International Automotive Show, the IAA, which took place 2 weeks ago in Frankfurt. But what we have put together in this summary has a lot to do with the trends of mobility we have also seen back in other events and exhibitions like consumer electronics. So we have a good perspective of this market, and I hope you are going to just absorb and share some of the views we have. This is not meant to be comprehensive, but this is the way we view it and the way we regard it to be. So if we go to the next slide, we have here the focus areas which we focus on, because obviously a car, it's a part of mobility, but mobility is much more than the car. And you can see it on the picture, is a connection, is a sense of something moving and something connected. So what Intergroup is working on for the last 2 years is in automated driving technologies, also connected car partnerships, e-mobility solutions more related to the energy networks, mobility services. I would say we as a team are more like mobility service users than mobility services enablers. This is happening, and it's going to happen the next years. And then we have, of course, the topic city and urban mobility services, where we have been also having projects with different customers, either from the security area, from the transportation area, also from the ticketing area. So these were the 5 topics we were looking into Frankfurt. And if we go to the next slide, we have a set of 5 slides what we think are trends we have seen there, which were not visible somewhere else. And to say it from the very beginning, there were not many, which means many brands were missing, and it was not so easy to look for really new innovation trends here in Frankfurt, especially if you had all the background of other exhibitions like the consumer electronics, which was in January early this year. Still, we think that, and we see that as a matter of fact, in the tier 1 supplier are the ones introducing innovation. We wouldn't say driving innovation, because some of these tier 1s like Conti, ZF or Lear or many others are doing a very good job on applying those technologies. If you compare to what what they were looking at into 3 years ago, 2 years ago, still there are some of the technologies related to connectivity cars, which we believe have to be executed and implemented in a different way. So in this area, the tier one supplier is driving in certain topics like the wallet parking project automated from Mercedes, from Daimler and Bosch. We have also ZF, which we think it's very, very innovative and very smart on introducing new technologies on hybrid and electrical cars, and also other complete different type of suppliers and systems like Qualcomm providing wireless EV charging. So we see players coming from the tier one supplier, the classical tier one suppliers, but also a new breed of tier one suppliers from other industries like maybe Qualcomm has been enabling some of those solutions. So is a lot of load, a lot of pressure for these players to provide those solutions, a lot of risk, but a lot of innovation and project engineering taking place, which we believe is very good. There are some names here. We have been picky on choosing the names because it has not been so many innovation according to our opinion. So the names which are in here are very well, and you will see some of them are repeating themselves, which gives a very clear picture of who's driving the innovation in the German leading global car makers. If we go to the next, I mean, if there is any question, please feel free to interrupt me at the slide in a point of time. Otherwise, I will continue. So we can also have a question and answers at the end. I will just proceed if I don't hear from you. So the megatrend number 2 is, yes, please, Germany believes it. E-mobility is part of each portfolio by now. So still there is a lot of information in the German automotive press saying, do we need an electrical car? We don't need an electrical car. This is out of question. The e-mobility, in whatever version it is part of each portfolio of every car making company in the world. It has to be said that the key players on this segment did not participate on the IAA. So there were quite a few brands leaving. Pure electrical players like Tesla and BYD from China were definitely not there, and these are very big electrical markets. So here what we thought was interesting was Volkswagen didn't only present a concept, but they presented a platform, electrical platform car building to accelerate all their portfolio of electrical cars, which of course makes a lot of sense to drive the economy of scales of all these. This is called the MEV ID portfolio, and we can see a showcase on the right side, and they keep the line of wanting to provide to everybody with a car and everybody, if possible, with a cool electrical car. Mercedes has a lot of EQ models. It's very interesting to visit, even if you don't have the chance to have been there, just to go to the website and look at the future driving performance, smart vision of them. It is cool. It introduced a lot of more aspects that only electrical car, but also what type of transparency and capabilities gives to the driver to assess how far to drive, how to drive, which performance. So I think it's a very holistic concept. The trend number 3 is partnerships and collaborations. This is an example of Cortana this is an example we did not see in Frankfurt. We saw in Frankfurt a lot of Bosch, CTF collaborating with NVIDIA chip technology. Well, Audi announced already in January they were collaborating with NVIDIA. Also, platform systems like Cortana. It shows that really also the other ventures like Valeo on the e-automotive e-venture with Siemens, all of them are trying to merge with IT solutions and also building up high voltage powertrains and the related um, control systems behind them. Yes, go ahead. All right. I thought there was a question. Maybe there is one at the end. If we want to
there is a question in the chat. Question from Jörg. I don't know if Jörg, you're having maybe an issue because you're on mute. But the question here in the chat is, what was the sentiment from IAA for the outlook for hydrogen or other fuel cell cars?
They were there as a showcase. I think it was a showcase. That's a sentiment that we could evaluate out of our visit. And if we compare the struggle that everybody seems to be conducting when we think about a pure electrical car where you can get electricity and fast charges everywhere, imagine a hydrogen or fuel cell car provisioning. So the sentiment, in our opinion, is that this is a showcase.
Actually, Daimler announced or showed a pre-series car, so that was pretty advanced and looked pretty much ready for production. But they have been working on that quite some time now, so I don't think it was much work for them to bring that to the exhibition.
The thing is that we need to consider mobility as who's going to buy this. If you buy these hydrogen and fuel cell cars, you will have the same questions you are having with an electrical car. How to optimize performance, how to recharge it, how reliable are the systems. So until those questions are really answered, this is still a pre-commercial or showcase for this type of cars.
Yeah, you can see it also with the amount of cars. I think Daimler showed 10 hybrid cars and some pure electric cars and only one hydrogen car. So they just wanted to cover that, I guess.
Okay, so clear. That answers my question. Thank you. I was on mute. I was actually eating, having lunch while listening. So
okay, good.
Thank you. Thank you for your answers.
Okay, Montserrat, sorry to interrupt.
Well, great. There's gonna be concerning the partnerships. We should have seen much more in the IAA, much more partnerships than the ones which were shown there. So it was a pure car show. Few players would embrace the mobility concept, but we will leave some of that for the closing remarks. So if we move to the next trend, so basically mobility is evolving through new business models. So again, new business models are almost a default out of what you can do with the technology, either because the technology needs to educate new ways of using mobility, or new ways of using those cars, those machines, those devices, and also new type of services related to them. Sometimes because the technology is not strong enough, so that you need those services to actually roll out a global commercialization of those cars. And sometimes because the technology is so good and it has so much advantage of automated car that you can really have all the type of services while you are driving, you are being a passenger in one of those cars. So basically, here is what we also have seen from Daimler, very good, interesting showcases, evaluating also what type of transportation for a city would make sense. It would be electric cars, scooter bikes, where it would be other type of technologies embedded to them, like different powertrains, or where there would be other services like charging services, car sharing services, and also services which are empowered by having the capability on technology, being able to provide how to identify the car, how to secure that, how to make payments according to those services in the car, or even how to allow certain services access according to who's driving the car, who's using the car. So there are quite a few models from different companies being provided, like pay as you drive, and these others. Those companies are companies like Audi, which is having a kind of concept about driving living room, or the third room that families takes place, and what could happen there. Companies like Allianz, which is supporting a lot of additional mobility services, less related to driving a car, but more related to delivery services, related to car sharing services. So they are investing and ensuring most of those business models. Without them, this could not take place. And of course, one of the connected car as such, connected to a transportation infrastructure around 1 kilometer to your car, recognizing the infrastructure that you could have close to you, or what kind of services could be provided to you, that might want to make you not want to own a car, but be able to use a car as much as you are using a railway, or an S-Bahn or a tramway. So, as I said, you can classify this type of business models in two ways. One, where the technology is not mature there, so that without the business model like this wouldn't work. For example, that pay as you drive and all this type of car share services, insurance by Allianz, where they insurance mobility, and they help encouraging the usage of electrical cars for short distances, or transportation of packages also inside the cities. Or we have also new business models which are related to really complete new companies taking over entire services around the car. These are the two of them. Also in the year, very few could be seen there. Very few new could be seen there. And once again, Daimler had to be mentioned in our slides. We are not a Daimler presentation team, but they showed a lot. And Renault, if we move to the next slide, we also have connectivity, shaping all the car functionality and services. Also a very good concept from Daimler and from Renault. Facebook was part of it as well, on how to embed artificial intelligence capabilities into autonomous driving. Daimler has also special projects only based on that, since more than 1 year running inside the company. And on Renault, we can see the concepts of travelers, and how can they enjoy the services inside the car, provided by one of the most advanced mechatronic tier 1 suppliers, Brose. So that was very interesting too, cooperation of both of them. Then the last one, we mentioned it before was all these mobility services shaping the ecosystem. Bottom line, again, the OEMs are, of course, claiming that they are very active in the mobility service business. We don't see it. We don't think that they are leading this. And we think that there is a big struggle of the tier one to provide some of those solutions related to basic things like EV charging, automated parking, car sharing. We see that there is much more ecosystem moving on other parts of the industries rather than the pure car making companies. And it's going to be bottom line a cooperation of both, but it's still a long way. It's still a long way because we also understand, we come from the mobility area, we understand very well wireless, and if you think that the connected car today, many companies are, or tier ones even, are going for passive system solutions, which, yes, it allows connectivity in a car, it allows having a connected car, but is not secure. So security, cybersecurity, that's something, it should be much more in the front of these things. It should be discussed, it should be visible, and thus make us think and make us believe that many of these things for these car automating companies are showcases and things which are maybe 2 years away rather than pre-commercial solutions allowing true mobility services and allowing safety and car connected access. We still think that that's something is not there yet, and the change versus consumer electronics in January towards IAA here is neglectable. Actually, there are almost none, and that's a little bit the conclusion for the IAA outlook and for the mobility services that we could see at the IAA, also at the new mobility world. I think that other people have been there maybe from the audience which is listening to us, so it would be very interesting if some of you would have a contribution to the rest of us on things you might think is important to mention. Very, very welcome to improve and amend our status of information here. Is there any question, any comment, any inquietude, any frustration by saying, hey, I still have to charge my electrical Tesla with 3 different apps provided? So also that is welcome in the conversation.
I guess there are not that many questions today.
Okay, then I will continue to the next slide. As Nikki said, we are an international service company which grows companies through innovation. We are specialized in those segments, and we understand the driving innovation technologies in each of them. Probably the most challenging one is healthcare, which is where we are the newest, but we are very knowledgeable. Our experts have been working very much on the last 7 years on the areas of energy, new services, mobility, new services, security, and IoT topics. Then we will have this presentation available for you, also the recording relating to that. On the next slide, we have the type of services we do. We call ourselves service company because we do not only work on concepts and decision making, decision inspiration. We also work on the operational side when we have to do a very detailed technology scouting, product benchmarking, and ultimately also close ecosystems and build up partnerships, which is not possible if you don't have the reputation and the acceptance of the stakeholders in those partnerships. That's all. That's us. I need to thank my colleague Hannes Schutter and Axel Werns, who have contributed and been part of this journey in the IAA. And yeah, thank you very much for taking your time. I think we did it really sharp, 60 minutes. If there is any question, we can still be here 5 to 10 minutes. If not, feel free to reach out to us on an email or drop us a line. We are always there for interesting conversations around making a better. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you also from my side. And same goes for me, like reach out to me. I was there as Montserrat as well, so looking forward to your questions. Okay.
All right, then thank you for everyone for joining. This presentation will be up on Vimeo within about 24 hours, so feel free to check it out. And yeah, like the others said, if you have any question, feel free to visit our website or send us an email. That's it. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot, Nikki. Bye.